Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name's Tony. Welcome to my channel. This is my first video. This is going to be the first video of a series that I'm going to be doing called Champions of Cheap, where I'm going to show you how to do things on a budget. Today's video is going to be selecting the best quality wine on a budget. I selected this one on purpose because wine has the connotation of being, a fancy thing, something that has to be expensive, when in reality, that is further from the truth. So I'm going to show you my three-step method that I use when I go to the store and I want to select a wine and I'm on a budget and I need the best quality for the price. So let's get right into it. So there's a common misconception that great quality wine has to be expensive to be good. The more a wine costs, the better it's going to be. But that's not always the case. Actually, I've found that oftentimes I find wines on the lower end of the spectrum, on the lower end of my budget, that are actually, I enjoy a lot more. So I come from a background, I've made wine before, I've worked in the industry, and I have a lot of friends in Napa Valley, Sonoma, who are also involved in the wine industry. So my good friend and I decided one day that we were going to challenge each other, almost as a joke, who can find the best wine under $10. So we each went, to this grocery store of our choice, and we were searching around, and we did a lot of blind tastings. And we started to figure out that there was a ton of amazing quality wine, under $20, even under $10. And we were just surprised by some of these wines that we were finding. There were a ton of wines that we tried that they weren't great. The price did kind of correlate with the quality, but we found a lot of knockout wines, and we were able to determine that, if we use these three elements, this knowledge that I'm going to give you, that we could find great quality wines, the vast majority of the time. So like I said, you're not going to find a knockout wine every single time, but this is going to help you narrow it down tremendously. So stay tuned for the 3 steps that I'm going to give you to select the best quality wine while on a budget. Stay tuned. So step number 1 in my 3-step process for determining the best quality wine while on a budget is to determine the purpose of the wine. What do I mean by purpose? Well, what is this wine going to be used for? Is this going to be for my personal stock, something that I have at home that I can casually open on a Wine Wednesday, something like that? Is it going to be for dinner? Is it going to be shared with others at a party, a dinner party, something like that? Or is it going to go into sangria? Is it going to be a gift? Those kinds of things are what I'm thinking. And determining the purpose is the first step in narrowing down which part of the wine aisle I should be looking in. So that's going to help me move on to step number 2. So now that we have determined the purpose of our wine, say for example we have a good friend who's having a birthday and we want to gift them a nice bottle to enjoy, we can move on to step number 2 to help narrow that down. So step number 2 is arguably the most important. This is what's going to give us the best shot at selecting the best possible wine while on a budget. So step 2, I will say, does require a little bit more research, but once you know this information, I promise you it's going to pay off tremendously. So step number 2 is knowing some major wine regions from the world and their corresponding grapes. So in wine we have what's called terroir, and not to get too specific, I'll make another video about this, but terroir refers to, the soil, the water, the elements, the weather, the terrain that make up a certain region. And that's important because they have determined through soil testing, through science, through through these processes, that certain grapes grow the best in certain regions. So for example, Tempranillo, which is one of my favorites, grows well in Spain, in the Rioja region. So that is a signature grape to that region. And because it grows well in that region, the Tempranillos coming out of that region, the vast majority, are high quality. So if you find a Tempranillo that is on sale, Tempranillo that's $7.99, you can probably guess that it's going to be a pretty good wine. So this isn't going to give you a knockout every single time, but it's going to give you good guideline, some good knowledge that's going to help you pick winners a lot more often. Part of the fun of wine is trying different wines from all over the world and just experimenting and finding out what you like. That's my favorite part about it. But, having this little bit of knowledge he's going to go a long way as far as selecting higher quality wines more often. So, to make that easier, in the description, I left a little cheat sheet that I wrote up of some of the big wine regions in the world and their signature grape. So on there, I put, New Zealand, the Marlborough region, they have Sauvignon Blanc, which is amazing. In Bordeaux in France, they have um, Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Sauvignon Blanc, and I go through about 10 regions on there, and you can, pull it up on your phone when you're the next time you're at the grocery store looking for wine, and you can select the next knockout, which I want to hear about in the comments. So that's going to take us to step number 3. So now we have a purpose. We're going to be gifting our good friend a nice bottle of wine to enjoy on their birthday. And we have determined that we want to give them a nice Tempranillo from Spain, a nice fruity, approachable red wine because our friend says they don't like wine, and we're going to open them up to the world of wine with this nice accessible Tempranillo. So now we're in the international wine section, in our grocery store, and we see various Tempranillos. So now we're going to tie this all together. We have determined, Spain has, the best Tempranillos in the world. Spain is known, their region, Rioja, is known for growing some of the best Tempranillo in the world. So now we see there's various Tempranillos here. So we're going to tie it all together. The big theme of this whole thing, step number 3, is the price. So now we're going to select one based off of price that we like. We see a bottle that is a great price. It says Rioja, so the appropriate region, Tempranillo, and we love the price. Our friend's going to love it. And just to help you out here, we're going to look at a little bottle. So the Cabernet Sauvignon that you see on here, that is the grape. That is the grape variety that they're using. In the Napa Valley, that is obviously the region. So other bottles are going to look similar. It's going to say Tempranillo and it's going to say Rioja, Spain on it. So that's how we identify these things on a bottle, which is important. I'm going to make another video on reading a wine label. But now we have all these things, and our friend's going to love it, and everybody's happy. So if you guys try this method and you find a knockout wine that you absolutely love, a new favorite, please drop it in the comments below. I'm excited to hear what you guys find. So happy hunting.